Now to East Africa Roundup, where we have our man Darren Bartlett on standby to give us updates on some of the biggest stories around the Eastern African part of the continent. Good morning, Darren, and thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Olivia. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Hope you had a good week.
It was a fantastic one. I loved it.
All right, Darren, let's look at some of the big stories. The DRC representatives at the East African Legislative Assembly boycotted a retreat of the members of the regional body that is being held in Kampala, Uganda. Can you please tell us why this happened?
Well, they cited some of the reasons, saying that they don't feel secure in being in Uganda. And remember that this retreat was supposed to happen in two formats. The retreat is happening in Uganda, and they had to have they're supposed to have another session, a committee session in Rwanda. Now, historically, DRC has been accusing Uganda and Rwanda for facilitating the M23 and other rebel activities in the eastern part of DRC. And if you go back and see the protests that were done by the citizens of DRC, they even recently, as early as as late as December, they came out and say Uganda and Rwanda should not be allowed to deploy their armies into the eastern part of DRC to fight the M23 because they believe that they support the two. The World Court, the International Court, actually came out some time back and charged Uganda billions of money as a compensation to the destruction they did in the eastern part of DRC. So with some of those reasons, they feel, why would we go to Uganda where we feel that these people have been against us? They've been killing our people, looting our mineral resources in DRC. How safe are we? Those are key questions that were asked before they actually made that decision not to come to Uganda. But the host, who is the Speaker of Uganda, who hosted the EALA MPs at her residence, said that one thing is that Uganda is a secure place, that they should feel very secure, given even the relationships that they have with DRC of recent. There should not be worry for diplomats, especially, or even members of the East African, to worry about being in Uganda. Uganda is a very safe place. Give that kind of assurance, but it didn't sound very much convincing to the DRC counterparts, and they have decided to stay away from these sessions. They'll just wait for an EALA retreat or convening together in DRC rather than being in Uganda and DRC. In Rwanda. That's what they've chosen to do. And if you are a neutral person, you would look at it and kind of understand. But again, you would want them to reason at a point that Uganda is building roads in DRC. Uganda and DRC entered into treaties to deploy a joint force to help them keep the eastern part of DRC safe, also flashing out rebel groups like ADF. So based on the recent relationship, you would say there is nothing to worry about being in Uganda. Based on the recent relationship with Rwanda, you say maybe they can worry, but that was the basis of boycotting.
Well, these things, I don't know. It just feels like every time there's an attempt to create some level of peace, but something always just scuttles it. But let's also talk about other things. There were reports of 6 more lives lost, including 4 police officers in the recent attacks by bandits in Turkana in Kenya. What has the government's response been, and is there a cause for security alarm for citizens?
It's not the first time these bandits have actually caused this kind of level of insecurity in DRC. It has happened for decades, and if you look at the causes and why they actually attack people in the Turkana region or the Rift Valley region, these are nomads. They live and breathe and survive on livestock. So most of the times they have guns which they use to rear their animals, as opposed, as compared to other East African regions where people keep their animals using sticks. They use guns. Now, since the drought fell, you would see that they lost a lot of animals in the drought. So they've been going around and stealing livestock, so attacking police stations and stealing guns. And it always happens. It's like after a season, and then after a long time again, they do this again, because they believe livestock is theirs because that's what they do. Now, what the government has done is deployed police, of course, and the army, but the army is working with police. Of course, police is taking leadership in this to see that they take out the guns. They kind of the bandits and encourage them to work together with communities and live together. They coexist together. So there's that level of security. However, there are some concerns on how deployment is being made. As a matter of fact, yesterday there was a lot of noise on social media that the new inexperienced police officers who were passed out by William Ruto are the ones who were deployed in such areas. So the community feel a little bit unsafe because they feel these new police officers don't have that kind of experience to manage such events. But the government is, ensuring that those concerns are not going to happen again. They're going to deploy the KDF that has experience, that has fought these people for quite a long time, that has handled such conflicts in Somalia and others, to see that they disarm these bandits and protect the roads where they are being where they're hijacking people who are using the public roads and stealing from them, killing them, and taking their livestock. So they're securing main roads and also securing those communities around that area there. So the KDF is being deployed and the police is being deployed to see that they handle
let's look at this story as well in Kenya. Senator Gloria Oroba, who was scheduled to present a motion on a bill aimed at providing free sanitary pads to tackle period poverty, was sacked out of parliament. I watched the video, and as a woman, I didn't feel quite comfortable about what happened. But I'd like you to give us a quick background, as quickly as you can, about what caused the dismissal and how reactions that have come out of this.
I am one of those people who believe that she actually managed this because she already had a bill to table to provide women with sanitary pads, and she had actually caused. What I would agree with her is that she has a justifiable reason to see that she fronts the idea of providing sanitary pads for girls in Kenya, and she was tabling that motion on the Wednesday. However, what people were not comfortable with is the way she appeared, and other senators and other members of parliament were arguing that she is not the first person to have periods. She's not the first person we know that comes to work and they are having this kind of periods. Her action, her way of demonstrating this, is what was not welcomed in parliament.
But
the Speaker of Parliament.
Darren, there was no confirmation per se. According to her, on her way to work, on her way to parliament, she had her period, unfortunately, and got stained. The person who spoke before her said that they don't know if it's real or if it was orchestrated. But she says, and there's no way to prove that the period is real. So if she got stained, shouldn't this maybe highlight another conversation? What we hear is some people are talking about how this further highlights the conversation about period shaming in women.
Well, you could say, she's the only one who knows the truth of whether she was in periods or not. But, circumstantially, you would say maybe that is a demonstration. But if it was true, then you would say, was it right for her to stick in parliament the way she was? Wouldn't she have taken advice probably to clean up herself and come back to parliament and then go ahead with her motion? There's so many questions about this, and she has faced a lot of backlash on social media and everywhere. In fact, she threatened to leave social media because she called it cyberbullying. She has been bullied for what she did yesterday, and it's not the first time members of parliament have actually been ejected out of that parliament. One of them, Sonko, was ejected for wearing bling blings on him in a way that they felt was not honorable to the parliament. It's about, hey, you could have come to parliament. Okay, if you didn't know, now we have let you know. Please, Honorable Gloria, could you please go and change and come back to parliament? Something that she rejected because she felt she's being shamed for it. So it's a question of perception and how one wants to interpret this and take it.